Recording in progress.
Long time because he was thinking.
Hope everybody has a good time and enjoys this live Zoom Q&A.
Ta-da!
All right. Good afternoon, Star Trek family. My name is Mark Sickle, and I am your host of the Star Trek family. And as always, we're excited to welcome you to another exciting live Zoom Q&A. As always, I am joined by my beautiful number one in life. This is my wife, Lisa. And today I am honored and pleased to have with us an amazing actor, a fellow Trekkie, and a nerd at heart. You might know him as Deacon from 12 Monkeys, Father Kieran O'Connell from the originals, or more recently as Captain Liam Shaw from Star Trek Picard. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain of the Titan, the King of No, Mr. Todd Stashwick. Todd, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Hello! I was marveling at the dashing picture you chose to put of me in the promo. It's I was like, wow, I can clean up. Hi everybody. I'm here in the nerd lair.
The nerd layer. I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Todd has joined us today for a very special reason, and we're very thankful that he took the time. Um, he will be running on Saturday, the 20th of next week. He'll be running a special charity event. So we've invited Todd to come on and talk to us a little bit about that charity event. He'll be raising money for a very worthy cause, a foundation called the Pablove Foundation, which raises money for for childhood cancer. Pablove invests in underfunded, cutting edge pediatric cancer research, but also improves the lives of children living with cancer through photography and the arts, which is a really fantastic way of doing it, I think. I was quite surprised to find out that cancer remains the leading source of death by disease past infancy among children. So I'm really excited to hear some more about this and the event that you're running. Todd?
Hi friends. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of this, and so that I can do a little dance about my event next weekend. It's a little chilly here in the Southland. I have a heater on. I hope it's not too loud. It is a rainy, windswept day in Los Angeles. So I I first got involved with Pablove. Gosh, five 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I think, where I started running half marathons for them. I got to do three of those before lockdown and whatnot, and 80 degrees in Indiana. Um, you don't hear my heater. Good. Um, so I got involved with them. They are an absolutely amazing organization, like you were saying. So I will kind of echo what they do. They fund cutting edge research. They assist families whose children are fighting the fight, and then they also give children something to express themselves with through their Shutterbug program, where they teach the children photography so that their lives aren't just about this fight. It is about so much more, because that's the truth. But sometimes I think when your life is operations and treatments and infusions and just that can be so large, and to give some uh, art to their lives is important. So then they came to me last year and they said, "Hey, is there anything else?" And they were like, "Is there anything else you'd want to do?" And I think they were thinking, "Do you want to donate a signed script and or something?" Uh, and I said, "I'll do you one better." I had been active with a group called Jasper's Game Day, and Jasper's Game Day was a D&D event to raise money for suicide prevention. Um, and the gal that ran it eventually I think she got bit. She was a teenager. I mean, she was amazing who put this thing together. I think she got busy with school and whatnot. And I think Jasper's game day came to an end. And uh, I'd done several games for them. And so I sort of saw how charity worked using Dungeons and Dragons as the medium for it. And I had made some friendships in that process. And I pitched to Pablove. I said, what if I do D&D games with some of my nerdy actor people friends? And they were like, I don't even know what that means. And so I said, it's almost like a telethon. We will play live stream Dungeons and Dragons. We will auction off seats at that streamed table. So people who aren't actor friends but might be fans of some of the actor friends that I invite, and also Dungeons and Dragons players. They also might have a little extra money that they would like to see go towards helping kids. They can bid on a seat and they would join us. We would send them a Zoom link and they will join us. And then they basically, get bragging rights to say, I roll dice with Riker. Um, and it becomes a memory, an event, and it's not just like I write a check to a cause. It becomes something kind of profound and wonderful for all involved. And then for those of the people who aren't high rollers in that department, if you have some money, you can watch the live stream event for free. And this is me explaining all of this to them. And they can watch it for free, but they can donate to affect the game. And in that, you can donate to screw with the rolls or help the dice rolls. And I'll go into a bit of Dungeons and Dragons explanation in a bit. But and they can also bid on incentives. We would have signed scripts or items for the event to have as part of the incentives to donate. Now, they said this is a fascinating for them. It was a fascinating experiment. And wait, I have to know what the dog's name is.
This is Jadzia.
Oh, I'm
Jadzia.
so sorry. She was crying and I didn't want that to be disturbed.
I
But this
couldn't
is
hear it.
Jadzia.
It's just she's adorable. Um,
Sometimes.
Our baby. Yeah,
she's
sometimes
a
she's a
little
spoiled
she's a
brat.
little one. Um,
Yeah.
is she soaking wet right now, or
No,
is that just how she looks?
it's just how she looks.
No,
She's
that's
got
how
this
she
great,
looks.
she's
I'm
got this
sorry.
great. Why are you apologizing for how cute your dog is? There's
No, she's
absolutely no
adorable.
reason to apologize. She is a pumpkin. Um, so so I explained all this to them, and they were like, "Hey, if you know what you're doing," I said, "Well, I know some things, but there's parts of this that I don't know, but I know how to pick up the bat phone and get the people that do know," which in stepped the good guys at Dwight and Jake over at Mini Terrain Domain, who were they were the wizards behind the curtain during Jasper's game day, so they know all of the infrastructure on how to make this actually work. They had the Twitch channel, they had the templates for us to all be displayed and run it. They also had the connections to Tiltify, which runs all of the um, real time donations. So I went back to or I reached out to those guys, and they like Aragorn said, "You have my sword, you have my bow and my axe," and they joined the fight, and then Pablove had relationships with Charity Buzz that could facilitate the initial auctions for the seats. So we pushed from the shore and we gave it a shot. I lined up last time. I lined up Matthew Lillard and Tawny Newsom and Mika Burton and Jack Quaid, and we did our first charity stream the first time round. Each seat went for $4,000 a piece. And so before we even began, we had raised $8,000 to these two very generous players. And I make no pretensions. We are here to raise money. So if like I don't have any reservations to say let's make as much money as we can for these kids. So the fact that they were willing to have this memory and to play this game and pay that much money, I was happy to have them do it. Plus, they get a tax deductible slip. Then, when the game started, one of the things that I donated was a private Dungeons and Dragons game that I would run for someone and 5 of their friends, and that went for a pretty penny. And we just had different items that people donated and it was amazing. We ended up raising $34,000 that night in 5 hours.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
and
fantastic.
so my other Star Trek friends, they either participated or they saw or whatnot, and so I have a lot of ready, willing, and able nerd friends that are willing to lend a hand. So this year, Pablove was like, "Do you want to do it again?" I'm like, "Of course I do." And my goal is to raise $50,000 this time, because if I raise $50,000, I say I mean we and all the amazing people that participate. It can fund an entire grant.
Wow.
Yeah. So all of this, now I'm going to bring it home. It's very personal to me because when I was running the half marathons, I'm a Second City Chicago boy. I was a comedy boy, in my 20s, doing sketch comedy in Chicago. And my producer Kelly and my director Ann, they had 2 beautiful children. One of their children, Nora, um, when she was in her late teens, developed a rare liver cancer. And so I ran the second year I did it, I ran the marathon for Team Nora. And then sadly, the second year I had to run it in her memory. And so it was a big deal. And so when I came back to Pablove and said, "Can I do a D&D game?" And Nora was a big nerd. She loved DC and she loved fantastic stories. And I went I turned to Kelly and Anne, and I said, "Hey, I want to do this, and I want to honor Nora in some way uh, to do these games for her in her memory." And he's like, "That would be amazing. Whatever you can do to keep that light alive and spread that light." I said, "What if I title these charity events Legends of Eleanora?" And they were like, "We love that." So anytime I do an event for her, it is called Legends of Eleanora, and that is the province in my fantasy land that these stories take place in. And so each time we do it, and you see something called Legends of Eleanora, we will call it is. We know that is one of our charity events, and we're doing it for her. And Pablove does it in conjunction with my company, Nerd Circus. Uh, and so this time round, I managed to round up Will Wheaton, Michelle Hurd, Deborah Ann Wool, and Jonathan Frakes.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And the first seat that went up for auction closed at $8,500.
Wow. That's
And
fantastic.
and the second seat is currently up for auction right now. If you go to Charity Buzz, you can bid on it right now, and be the last open seat member to say you played dice with Riker, Rafi, Wesley, and Karen from Daredevil, and Shaw. So I'll put a link up for that as we speak.
Wonderful.
So yeah,
I'm so
it's an amazing opportunity. I'm going to get the link right now up for you all. That's not it. That's not it. Talk amongst yourselves while I hunt this down.
fine. I'm so sorry to hear that you were so personally affected
Well, you know
by.
what? Like you look, they were personally affected. They lost a child, and they are, their family to me. And so, what happens to one of us happens to all of us. And so, I was, we do what we can to help like that's
Mhm.
that's what we can do. All right, I'm posting the link in chat. If anybody has a deep pocket and they want to jump in and see if they could be a member, it will be a hell of a memorable evening. Plus they will get some lovely uh, special items that we will send to them as well after the game is completed.
How important it is to let's say roll twice in a row. I mean, I don't, unfortunately I don't know the game, but
What's the
let's
question?
say
What was the question?
let's say I want to donate for
A reroll?
for Michelle, her to, yeah, to re-roll. Is that
Okay,
important?
so this is a great opportunity, and this goes to the question that Tia Blind Bat Jenkins just asked. The link to donate for the game will not go live until the game. And then it'll be live for a few days, for a bit afterwards, as we will post the actual game on YouTube with a charity link there, so that people that can't watch it live can also donate afterwards. So this current link, is for the people who go, you know what, I really want to, be part of that big ticket event. Um, so this gives me an opportunity to explain Dungeons and Dragons. So, Dungeons and Dragons, to those of you who may or may not know, um, is a role playing game. You've probably heard of it. You may have seen the movie with Chris Pine, aka at one point Captain Kirk. Um, um, uh, so when you play the game, it is essentially collective fantasy storytelling. We are all collectively telling a story. I, as the dungeon master, have crafted a tale that is filled with choices and moments to act, and we will see where the story goes. Each character then tells me what they want to do in the moment. They then roll the dice to see if what they wanted to do worked or failed. And if it worked, the story goes this way. If it failed, the story goes this way. So it really shapes the story. So if if Jonathan gets a bad roll and he fails in that moment, or he's unable to, stab the monster, if you've donated $25 or $50, I don't know what the tiers are, for a re-roll, he then can go, oh, I screwed up. Oh, and they would go, thank you, Tia Blind Bat Jenkins, for the re-roll. And then they would roll the dice again to see if it would work. So it constantly shapes the game. And if you go back and watch, and it's just for fun. Look, we just want people to donate money and to see how that money can shape the night is just fun, right? It's all for fun. We're doing a very fun thing, and this have this moment of connection with each other where your reroll could affect, and uh, maybe for a certain price tier it could be an automatic success, critical hit, so that uh, at a much needed moment, you just go, you know what? Thank you, Sherry A Reader 50, for the critical hit. And then I would say, tell me how you killed the monster. Uh, and then Jonathan would go into great detail in his robust baritone as he describes to us how he bested the beastie. So that is that is how that would work. You also could. I'm going to pay a certain amount of money to give disadvantage to the dungeon master, so that the monsters get handicapped as they're attacking our heroes. So, or I'm going to cause them to slip and fall, and like so the audience can really affect the game, and it's fun to hear all of that. And we try to keep track of everybody that's donating and give them shout outs. And some people just donate, like we had people donating. They're like, my sister lost her child to cancer, so I'm just donating $1,000 to the event, and just enjoy the game in Jason's honor, right? And so we'll say that on the air, and give the love and the light, and it becomes a really raucous, wonderful way to celebrate life and help kids, and watch your nerdy heroes play a game together. It's really quite wonderful. And like I said, there's a link you can go to and watch last year's game. Uh, it got pretty crazy. I'm not saying I didn't have bourbon that night, but it got pretty crazy.
I did. I went back and I watched a little bit of last year's because I was curious. My wife and I don't know Dungeons and Dragons, so we were curious how it all works, and it was very interesting to see how, running a game as a GM is complex enough, but then when you add in the element of fans that are donating to affect the game, it makes it even more complex. So, and it looked like it went off like without a hitch.
I mean, look, I gotta tell you that so much of it goes to the uh, to the people behind the scenes that they're like air traffic control. They're like, okay, there's a roll for advantage. They're like, Matthew has another reroll. Matthew has a critical failure. Somebody paid $500 to have Matthew screw up. Like it just becomes such a celebratory event, and it becomes very active. What was wild was last time people in real time were doing fan art of things that were happening in the game and posting them on Twitter and posting them on Instagram with the link to the game. So people were like, what's going on? And it would draw more people in to the event. It was just really spirited and exciting. And I got to tell you, I rolled up Jonathan's character um, with him the other day, and he's really geeked. He's like, oh, this is going to be a blast. He cannot wait to play.
That's so
And
cool.
Deborah Ann is an old hat. Like she's a deep Dungeons and Dragons nerd. She's created 2 D&D shows that she has run. So she started playing D&D, I think, on the set of True Blood, just to pass the time with her castmates, because Joe Manganiello was also a big D&D guy, and he was on that show too. And so now there's this, amongst all of us Trek people, there's a slow bubbling, thanks to people like myself and Anthony Rapp, we're pulling all these people over to this amazing game from our youth, and just sharing the joy of the game. We played D&D live on the cruise with Will and Michelle and Dr. Emily and Anthony, and it was so much fun, so much fun.
That was actually going to be one of my questions because I was on the cruise with you and I didn't get to see the Dungeons and Dragons game at the panel that you did. I did get to see it was being simulcast on TVs around. I got to see some of it, and then I saw videos that people took, and it looked like it was a fantastic time.
So
Was
much
that
fun.
sort of like a dry run for you to learn the GMing process?
No, I've been dungeon mastering as a little boy. I played D&D, started playing when I was 11. I played pretty rock solid for 4 years, and then I drifted away from the game, came back to it as an adult, and I've been dungeon mastering now as a grown-up person for the last 6 going on 7 years.
Wow,
Wow.
that's a lot of
And
hours.
I've done a lot of streamed charity games for Jaspers, um, and the height of lockdown, so much of our gaming was all done on Zoom. So this is not new territory for me. That was the first time I GM'd a game in front of a live audience. So that was new. Um, and that, man, we were like, well, I hope people show up, and it was standing room only in the Five Forward Lounge, and then I guess there was another 350 people out on the promenade watching it on screen. So next time, if I get to do the cruise and we do it again, we're gonna move. Uh, we're gonna. I want to try and move it into a bigger space.
Yeah, definitely. Because, that's from what, I have a lot of conversations with fans that were on the cruise. And that's one of what's one of the events that kept coming up in conversation that people were really excited about and they really enjoyed and they really wanted to see more. And people were trying to get in the room, they couldn't. And yeah.
Somebody just commented on my Thundercat sword. That was a gift from a fan at an event. She presented me with a Thundercat sword, and I was very fortunate because it was at an event in Burbank, so I just had to drive it home. I didn't have to get it through customs or through the airport.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's fun.
You get a lot of gifts from fans at conventions and stuff. They bring you stuff.
People have been very kind, and oh, one of the things somebody gave me was this Captain Liam Shaw dice roller cup.
Oh,
They gave this to me on the cruise. It's and you keep your dice in it, and then you roll them and you dump it. And then on the bottom it says, "Yeah, it's been a weird week."
great
But it's
quote.
quite a beautiful. So that quote was improvised, by the way.
Wow.
A
I did not know.
little inside baseball. So when we were shooting that scene and with LeVar, the original script said something like, "Well, I sort of tell him what an honor it is to meet him," and then he sort of reads me the riot act of what's everything that's wrong with my ship, and I think the original line was touche. I say like touche, but I was like, well, touche means I said something bad to you, and then you said something bad back, but I didn't say anything bad to him in the first place. And so I'm like, I need a reason to try and sheepishly excuse why my ship is in such terrible shape. And I said to Terry, I said, what if I just go, yeah, it's been a weird week. And then he goes, say that. And that made it into the final version of the show.
Well, it worked, right? It was well received. Yeah.
Made more sense.
Yeah. It
Well,
was a very Shaw thing to say.
it was a very Shaw thing to say. That's true. Well, we wish you the best of luck with this event on Saturday. And, we here in the Star Trek family, also, we work with actors all the time with charities, and we do our best to try to give back to the community. So we want to pledge our full support to you in any way we can.
Thank you.
Whether it's just boosting the signal or, helping drive people to the event, please let us know how we can help you.
Well, that's that. Well, if there's any high roller watching right now, there's still an open seat. So jump on, and first and foremost, we got to fill that last seat. If you all know somebody that would love to play but they don't have it, and 10 of you pool your money together and donate and send that person online with us to play the game, that's a way to do it too, so that it isn't just one person. Have one person donate it, but then say, hey, surprise, we all donated to get you to this game because we know it would mean a lot to you. So that's the first thing, is we got to fill that seat. So, and that closes. There's literally one more day to donate for that seat for the charity buzz. After that, all next week I will be advertising the link to the Mini Terrain Domain Twitch stream, and once the game goes live, the Tiltify donation site will go live. Will be live during the game, and then for a few days after. This is a fundraiser. It is a piece of entertainment that we've all dedicated our time to create and craft in real time, and I've got all these amazing performers to donate it. 3 to 5 hours of live Dungeons and Dragons for your entertainment. But make no mistake, we're here to help the kids. Like, this is why we are here. There are lovely, really cool incentives to donate for, like a sword. I'm not kidding. there's a woman named Steph the Blacksmith. If you follow her on Instagram, she has crafted a sword just for this event, and you can bid on it. Like, it's going to be an auction incentive item. You can walk away with a sword and we will ship it to you. There's going to be a lot of really cool things. So you can bid on those posters. This woman, Julia Madalena, and a woman down in Australia, Mia Morris or Maya Morris, they crafted a poster that we're going to have, an original poster for the event, so that people can donate to that. Boost the signal, definitely boost the signal. Let the Star Trek folks know when the event happens, and then participate in the game. Like, every little bit of money helps, and the certain numbers you donate them, they're going to go towards rerolls. They're going to go towards events. You're going to see how your donation is going to have really fun effects on the game itself.
Yeah, and that's so wonderful that not only can they participate in the game, but they can also bid on certain things to walk away with, and so they're
Yeah,
giving money to a decent cause, but they're also getting something in return as well,
yeah,
which is
and there will be tax deductible letters that you can get, so that people can use that on their income tax and claim some of their bids for that too. So it's all like any charity. There's taxes to be deducted. So it's all good. It's just nothing but good, using our nerd powers for good. I see hands up.
yeah. We're gonna take some questions from the crowd if that's okay with
We're
you
gonna seg
a little
into the
later.
Q&A section.
Yeah, yeah. I do have a few questions I would like to ask first, and then I'll start calling on some folks if that's okay. Um, uh,
Please do.
w- One of the things that I love about you as a person, as an actor, is I've often heard you talk in interviews about being a Star Trek fan yourself from a young age, and that it's very relatable for us as fans to know that not only are you now one of our heroes on screen, but you're also somebody who's a fellow fan. And so, what was it like for you to get the role of Shaw and go in and get your uniform fitting and sit in the command chair, and how surreal was that for you to be in that moment?
Well, it's a couple things. Deeply exciting, because you want to make stuff that you would watch as a I've done a lot of shows that of television that I don't watch that show, right? um my first action figures were Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in 1974. So my introduction was the original series and the animated series. That's what I really connected with as a boy. And um and uh and then, so my love of Trek, my deep love of Trek, really blossomed even more with like Wrath of Khan and those 80s films. That's where my Trek lives. When I was watching Next Gen, I was already out of college and pursuing acting, so I watched Next Gen through a different lens. Next Gen I watched as an actor, like going, all right, what are they doing as actors? I'm watching Patrick and I'm watching the choices he's making. I didn't have that, like, I'm lost in it like a little boy, like I did with the original series, the animated series, and that, like I did with Star Wars. Like, I was that kid. I was a kid of the 80s. Like a lot of actors now in their 50s, we all came up with the Spielberg and the Lucas and the Trek of it all, and the Dungeons and Dragons. Like, this is all the stuff that sowed the seeds of our imagination coming up. Um, I had worked with Jonathan on episodes of Burn Notice. And so I knew him, and Terry obviously was my showrunner on 12 Monkeys. Um, and so when I got the role of Shaw, uh, and Terry called me and he said, "We're writing a role for you." And of course, your immediate response is, "Well, I can't wait to see who plays that." because that's not how LA works. If they would create a role for you, you know, the network gets in there and go, well, we have some ideas, and the studio's like, yes, well, we have a holding deal with it, and it just never pans out that you're the guy that the role is written for, because I've been the guy that got the role when it was written for someone else. So I know that this is how the industry works. And Terry's like, no, just sit tight. We're just gonna, you know, getting through the process with casting. And I said, awesome. So then I got the part, and I went in to get fitted, and it was really cool to walk into the fitting room and see the concept art of me with my head slapped on a Trek, my captain's uniform. So that was fun. So it all sort of happened in slow motion, little bits at a time. I mean, when I went in for my first fitting, Terry's like, do you want to come down and see your bridge? I'm like, yeah. And so I got to go kick the tires of the Titan before anybody else was there. It was just me and some of the writers alone when stuff was still covered in plastic as we were getting ready to
That's awesome.
shoot in a few weeks. Yeah. And so my relationship to Next Gen is different than my relationship to, like I said, the original series or whatnot. And I've also been acting for 30 years. So I walked onto the set with deep appreciation for a legacy that I was joining, no pun intended. And so with deep appreciation and excitement, but also with a job to do, right? I knew I had a job to do, and I had a job to I'm going to say it again, a legacy to uphold. Like, there is a responsibility, a stewardship when you become a member of Starfleet to uphold the ideals that Roddenberry started. And so joining them, I look, I always love getting the opportunity to work with actors whose work I've admired. And so whether that was working with Michael Douglas on I did a film called Yumi and Dupree that I was all but cut out of, but working with Minnie Driver and Eddie Izzard on Susie Now, on The Riches. So I've been fortunate in my career, Matthew McConaughey on a very silly stoner film called Surfer Dude, whose work that I've only been able to enjoy from afar. But getting to work with people whose work I admire on a project that I love, and with the writing of people that I have been able to work with, the writers were, thank you, Mona. Yes, Surfer Dude is fun. With writing, because half the writing staff were 12 Monkeys writers. So they knew how to write to my voice and my particular set of skills. And so when I stepped into, hang on, I have to turn off a phone call here. Doink. When I stepped into the skin and the uniform, it felt like I'd been playing this guy already.
Okay.
Because they knew how to sort of tailor the tone and voice to, it's like having a suit cut to fit you, right? You put it on, you're like, well, I've been wearing this for years. It just fits right. And that was it with Shaw, because when Terry envisioned the character, it's because he had worked with me for 4 years on 12 Monkeys, and then Chris Monfett and Sean Tretta and Oliver Grigsby, and then they all knew how to write to what it is that I do. You know, as I say, they are the composers, I am the singer, and they know how to write songs for me. And so the whole experience was just, you know, as chef's kiss, right? And getting to put my thumbprint on Star Trek is thrilling. My joke is, if you told 6-year-old Stashwick he's playing with Captain Kirk action figures that someday he'd be a Starfleet captain, he would have said, Yeah, that totally tracks. Because that was the goal, right? Like I got
Right.
into this stuff because I wanted to be a big damn hero, right? I wanted to be Han Solo. I wanted to be Peter Venkman. I wanted to be Captain Kirk. And so, uh, it's funny. You watch Deacon, and if you look at Deacon in 12 Monkeys, it's Han Solo and Peter Venkman, but a sociopathic version. Um, and if you look at, Kirk was the one that I grew up with. That was the one that I grew up with. And I got to work with Shatner on a show called Shit My Dad Says. And so I got to meet him, and I got to work with George Takei, or I was on set with George on a show called Super Ninjas, and then Walter Koenig is my neighbor. So all those TOS guys have been part of my circle for a while, and then getting to work with Frakes, so that it was a very warm set when I arrived. It was that I was immediately part of the family. It was amazing.
It's good to have
Pretty
life goals.
pretty
I want to be able
long-winded
to start.
answer to your small question.
That's quite all right. You answered a couple of my questions, so that's all right. The only other thing that I wanted to ask, I mean, I have other questions, but I want to get to some of the other members' questions as well. But you said that you watched your perception of Star Trek changed with the Next Generation, where you were watching the actors to like see what they're doing and see the choices
Yeah.
that they're making as actors. What was it like for you when you got to work with Jonathan Frakes and Patrick Stewart, and like, was there any nervousness about it? Was there
No,
like,
no, no, because again, I've been acting since '93. I've been a professional actor. I've been acting for 30 years. So I wasn't, I mean, I don't get I know the job, right? I was excited, but I wasn't nervous. Like, gosh, I hope they like me. Like, it wasn't that kind of thing. It was excitement. It's like you want people to raise your game as an actor, but it wasn't like, who I get nervous meeting? I get nervous meeting musicians because they do something I don't, right? Like, I got to meet Elvis Costello, and like I've gotten to meet Jack White, and that makes me nervous because they have a magical power, right? I mean, I think some people want the answer to be yes. I was crapping myself meeting Picard, but the reality is, I admire his work. I admire his work. I steal from them, right? You steal from the people who are at it longer than you. And I was excited to get to do scene work with people who I know to be really skilled actors.
Mhm.
You know, so it might be a disappointing answer for people, but I wasn't like fanboying in the way that I would around a musician. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to do scenes with Patrick Stewart, and I admire him as an actor, and he's going to raise my game as an actor. And I get to be directed and act with Jonathan Frakes, so he's going to raise my game as an actor. Um, and so, it's funny because I used to go to the Saturday Night Live parties when I was living in New York, and there was a moment. And I also think, again, going to when I came to know the work of those actors, right? Which was, I came to after I had graduated college, and now I'm in Second City, and I'm watching in the early '90s. I'm watching Next Gen because I'm a sci-fi fan. I'm watching Next Gen, but I'm watching it through the lens of an actor pursuing acting. Um, But I was 8 years old when I saw Han Solo. I was 6 years old when I saw Captain Kirk. So there's something about those youthful impressions that mean something to you, right? And so here's a great example. When I would go to Saturday Night Live parties, there was one party I went to, and we were all having dinner, and I was brought over to meet a couple people at a table. And one of those people was Jack Nicholson. And I was like, oh, so cool to meet Jack Nicholson. That was cool. And then they went, "Oh, and Todd, this is Dan Aykroyd," and then I was like, "That's a Ghostbuster!" Like, and I was, I've been watching Saturday Night Live since 1975, so the boy in me reacted hugely. Like I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Nice to meet you, Jack Nicholson, Dan Aykroyd." Like that was meaningful to me, uh, because and I get excited to meet people. I introduced myself to Andy Serkis at a convention, and that was really, really fun and cool. He does something that I love his work. Um, and so, don't get me wrong, I get very excited, but it's not in that because I love what I do. And I
Sure.
love having the opportunity to tell these stories that I love to tell. Um, but it's not it never got in the way of what it is the job at hand. And again, I'm 55, so it's I still get excited about work and telling these stories, but i I get stupid around musicians. I get stupid. Like
And
if I got to meet Styx or Paul McCartney or Beyonce, like I don't know what I would do. Like I'd be like, oh, hi, I can't make eye contact. Yeah,
that's something that you share in common with my wife. She's big into music and she loves musicians. And every time she gets a chance to meet one, she gets really excited about it.
Yeah, I have
I
met
also
Paul
don't.
McCartney.
Yeah, you met Paul McCartney?
Mhm.
Uh, I
Yeah,
don't know what I'd
but
do if I had to work with Harrison Ford. If I had to
oh,
work with Harrison Ford, I would lose my mind because I'd be like, "You scare me. You terrify me. Like I was 8." You know what I mean? It's a big deal. These impressions that and this stuff is special. Again, walking onto my bridge was special. Wearing my
Yeah.
uniform was special. Doing scenes with Jerry and LeVar, like it's special. It's very special, and that's not lost on me. The experience was not lost on me, but I wasn't nervous. If that makes sense.
I know the feeling. Lisa and I both years ago used to work in the film industry in LA. And I was a production assistant, then second assistant director, and I had a chance to work with one of my childhood heroes, Brett Spiner, and then LeVar Burton, and I also met George Takei on the set of Heroes. And so I get it. Like when you're working around them and you're being professional, you have a job to do. You might allow yourself a little bit of a flourish of excitement, but at the same time, you have a job to do, and so
Yeah.
you don't get that starstruck nature as much.
Well, and again, it also goes down to when these people came into your life, right? And so I do have a fun story, a fun fanboy story, and I've shared this before, and it's all about context. It's all about context. I've shared this before. I was doing a western with Ewan McGregor, and I'm a fan of his work. But I met him on set, and so we meet as peers working on a project, making a thing, and I admire his work, and I'm excited again to do scenes with people whose work I value. Um, we were shooting in New Mexico, and I'm a huge Battlestar Galactica fan. So we're shooting in New Mexico, and Ewan's like, "Hey, let's go out into the city and let's go shopping." He wanted to buy some Western clothes. It was me and Ewan and this great actor, Boyd Holbrook. Uh, and so we're in this little shop, this little clothing shop, and they're in changing clothes, trying on Western shirts, and I was just walking around the thing, and I around the corner, and Katie Sackhoff is standing right there, and in the wild, I didn't know what to do. Like I was like, Starbuck. I love Starbuck. There she is, and she's beautiful, talented, and she's right there. And my brain is going, Obi-Wan, we've got to go because I'm going to make a fool out of myself in front of Starbuck. Like I was fine being there with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was my coworker. You know what I mean? It's all
Right.
context to which you meet people. If you see a famous person that whose work you admire in the wild, I I may not approach them. I know, I'll leave them alone because they may want their privacy, and so it's all context. But I do like I got into this because I love acting and actors. I got
Sure.
into it because I love storytelling. Uh, but it's also all those things as a boy: Star Trek, Star Wars, Dungeons and Dragons, Indiana Jones, uh, Ghostbusters. These are the things that made me want to tell these stories in the first place. This is the job that I always wanted to be doing. So I made choices in my life and geared myself up for this. It wasn't like my name got pulled out of a hat and they went, "And Todd Stashwick, here is your starship," out of nowhere. It was like there was a quiet process that led to this, and it was 4 years. People go, "What was the audition like for Shaw?" And I say, 4 seasons of 12 Monkeys was my audition for Star Trek.
Right.
You know,
Well, I'm so glad that you were finally able to get that role on Star Trek. And I know you've worked in Star
oh,
Trek
so much
before as
fun.
well, Talik.
Oh, I know. I was on Enterprise too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another one of my favorite shows. Do you mind if we open up the room to
Please,
questions?
please, let's go.
All right.
She's got the first one.
Folks that have been waiting longer.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I've been waiting for days. Um, um, First of all, I love your work. And you're gonna hear this like
Great.
45
You're very
times.
kind. Well, no,
Um,
usually they say, "We hated your character at first, and then we loved them." And to which I always go, "So what did you hate the most? When the old guys lied to me and tried to steal my ship, or my first officer betrayed a direct order putting us all in danger? But I'm the asshole?"
yeah, I know, right? I was gonna start with no. Yeah, because I
Somehow,
hear you're
here's
the
here's a
king
here's
of
a funny
no.
thing. I'm the king of no because I have two memes. One from Supernatural where I'm Dracula going no, and then another one where I'm sipping wine and going no. For a guy who comes from Second City saying yes and all the time, it's funny that I'm known for the word no twice.
Right.
Okay, he already told me, ask your question. I'm gonna ask my question. My training is in theater, and I know that if you go to school for acting is in theater. Well, obviously your first thing was probably theater, but what was your first TV or movie role, and how did you get it?
My first television role. Uh, Well, my first on-camera stuff was doing industrial commercials through Second City, and one of them was with Colbert. We were in Second City together, so it was for like Nike. But my first like official like on-camera acting job was a show called Remember When, which I believe was on Showtime, and it was about a radio show in the 30s, and I played a gangster with Philip Bosco, and I got it from a straight up audition. Yeah, just walked into the room and just like you get a job, and like an
Did you
audition,
have an
walked into
agent?
the room. I had
Did
an
you have
agent,
an
yeah,
agent?
yeah. So
Mm.
what happened was I was in Chicago doing Second City, and then Saturday Night Live wanted me to audition for them, so they flew me out to New York and I did my audition where the host does his monologue, um, which again, what a thrill! Like that alone was like things are moving in the direction that you want, kiddo. Because like I said, I grew up wanting to be Bill Murray, wanting to be Dan Aykroyd, uh, and so to stand there in Studio 8H doing my comedy, that was a thrill. But I didn't get the job, but it was enough to go, hey, I think it's time to leave Chicago. And because word got out that these actors are being brought in to be looked at from Second City, all these New York agents were like, Who are you? What's that? So I signed with a New York agent. So before I left Chicago, I had an agent waiting for me in New York.
Nice.
And by the way, he's an archaeologist. Since you mentioned
Ah,
Indiana
a
Jones, that's why we looked at each other and
a
smiled.
purveyor of rare antiquities. Yeah.
Yes, it belongs in a museum.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All
Great
right.
question.
Thank you, everybody, for being so patient with waiting for your questions. I'm going to go sort of in order.
Please.
Sherry, you can start first.
Hello.
Hi, Sherry.
Really liked Short telling off my guys, so it was cool. I follow you on all the different platforms, and I did notice that you were working up a character sheet with Frakes. I want to know, what's he playing, and has he actually played before?
Answer to the first question. You'll have to tune in to find out.
No, because you're killing me, because my son goes on at 5 p.m. for his band, and if it's Eastern time, I can't miss my son's gig.
So it'll be 8 p.m. your
Okay,
time.
good. Thank God.
5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay, good.
So you'll have to tune in to find out. And no, he's never played D&D before, but he's really geeked. Like he's like,
We
and I
can
was sort of
give him some dice. We got a jail. I've got, before my 3D printer, I have so much stuff. It's not even funny.
yeah. So he's never played before, but he is really, really excited. He's like, oh, this is gonna be fun. So I think people will get a kick out of the character he's playing, but I'm not gonna spoil it now.
Okay.
Wait, listen, if I told you what was in the Christmas presents, what's the fun in opening them? Half the fun is the anticipation of the
Well, I
surprise
just got to
and the
make sure I
waiting.
can break away from the show.
Truth. But the other thing is it will be available on YouTube after the thing, and people can still donate even after the live stream is done. So it'll be there for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. Tana, would you like to ask your question?
Sorry, just couldn't get to the mute unmute button there for a second. Hey, Todd.
It happens.
So real quick, I actually asked you this question at the Hollywood show, but I love the answer so much, and no one could say it the way you said it. I said to you, man, I love Picard, but man, the last episode pissed me off.
Yeah.
You said, why? And I said, well, they killed you off. Your answer was so cool. I don't know if this is something you say to everyone, but you had said, yeah, man, I died like Spock. And you made me pause. But I don't know if you want to elaborate on
okay,
that.
so it's a twofold answer, right? And it's it's Star Trek, so I'm as dead as the plot needs me to be. So I say I'm Spock dead. Like people go, oh, they shouldn't have killed you. I'm like, should they have not have killed Spock? These are massive story moments, and the sacrifice is valuable, right? And then they made a great story on how he returned. And so that's my, trust and hope and faith is that if they need me, or if they need Shaw or any version of Shaw, they'll know how to bring me back. But if you never see the dipshit from Chicago again, what a ride, right? It was such a beautiful, poetic, karmic circle. Here's a man who lived with survivor's guilt, understanding why he was kept alive, right? What is his reason? Why me, he says. And then we find out why. Because he is allowed to give that gift of sacrifice back so that they can go off and literally complete the circle. And Picard himself now can be instrumental in defeating the Borg with the help of Shaw's sacrifice. And that is beautiful writing. That is a beautiful karmic circle. That being said, my healthcare and bank account would love to come back as Shaw.
Awesome. And it's so good to talk to you,
Nice
Todd.
chatting with you.
Follow-up question too.
Well, not quite follow, but hi. First off, you were amazing on the cruise. You like had great vibe and including a great sportsman, like with putting on all the balloons and all that jazz in the variety show. You were a great sport.
And that was 2
I'm
years
shameless, Tana.
Two
I'm
years
shameless.
My question is on the gamer side. I'm a huge gamer.
Okay.
And Phil does DMing, and then I'm part of a Dungeons and Dragons group on another group that I'm part of. First off, two-parter. One is, what is your favorite part of DMing, which is like, do you like messing with the characters? Do you like the storyline? Do you like the patterns? Like what really, gets you going? And then also, what would you suggest for other dungeon masters to improve their skills or to make this make their game better?
I love this question. I love what I love about DMing again is I'm going to plug something real quick. I am creating with my buddy. It's going to kickstart at the end of May. A thing called Prague Core Fantasy Dark Age of Fear, and it is a multi-headed beast. It is going to be a source book which will be agnostic of system, so you can use it for D&D, Pathfinder, whatever. It's going to be an album of music, and it's going to be an animation. It's going to be an actual play. It's going to be a lot of things. I started playing D&D. This is all going to answer your question. Trust me. It's not just a shameless plug. I started playing Dungeons and Dragons in 1979. My entry level drug to all of it was the Rankin and Bass Hobbit cartoon. If you haven't seen it, it's a must see. That led to Ralph Bakshi's Lord of the Rings and Wizards and Excalibur and Legend and Dragon Slayer and The Last Unicorn and The Black Cauldron and listening to Styx and Jethro Tull and Led Zeppelin. And so that vibe of dark fantasy with the music, the animation, and D&D means something to me. And what does it mean to me? Well, they all promote wonder, mystery, and danger. And so what we're trying to do is capture the very things that I love about tabletop and dungeon mastering and playing as well, which is I love creating wonder, mystery, and danger for my players. I like the games to be lethal, meaning we don't have to fight to kill every monster. Every monster might be able to kill you. Running away is just as good of a story sometimes. So I like, for the same reason as I was saying earlier to Sherry, I like wrapping Christmas presents and I like hiding Easter eggs because I love the look on the face of the discovery as the players are surprised by the story I lay out and surprised by each other's choices. Delight. It's about delight. We play these games to have fun, and I like creating an environment and a platform to which it all can feel like those beginnings again, like those things that we did as kids where our eyes got huge. Like if you remember watching Star Trek as a kid and your eyes were huge, and that those little gasps when moments happen. That's my favorite part of DMing. And in answer to your second question, what tips can I give to DMs? Well, that will be in the book.
Love
He
it.
said, standing up to get another LaCroix so you can look at my Dungeon Masters. I swear, all of my Zoom talks should be sponsored by LaCroix. LaCroix, like drinking soda water and having someone yell the name of a flavor from across the room. So There we go. So yeah, so as a dungeon master, I say finding ways to increase wonder, mystery, and danger for your players is essential. Essential. And so also don't over prepare. Also be nimble and be ready to throw stuff out and chase the direction that your players are going, especially if it's only if it's an ongoing campaign. When you do a one shot, the way I describe it is a campaign is Disneyland. You don't know where in the park your players are going to go, but you got to be ready to follow them there. A one shot is like the Haunted Mansion. The players sit down and they are taken through a very finite experience.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you, Todd.
That's a great way of
And
explaining
if you
it,
go
too.
to progcorefantasy.com, you can sign up to be notified when the Kickstarter starts.
I
I
already
guess I'll
put the
put that.
link.
Smart. You're very good. You're very good.
I got to
Thank
tell
you.
you, when you got up to get the LaCroix, I'm actually looking at your layer there, and I'm actually jealous of all the stuff you have in the background. It's really, really
That's why I
cool.
do it. I do it for the jealousy. Oh, hang on. Let me go light this candle. There we go.
Oh my
That's
God.
pretty.
Nice.
That's
That
prettier.
adds a nice touch.
So
That's prettier.
Uh,
Oh
red
yeah. I mean,
skull.
I have a really cool setup here. Look, I spent my adult life living the childhood of my dreams.
Awesome. Don't we wish we could all be that way?
I like the
Well,
white
you can in
mask.
your own way, man. It's all everything's relative, right? Relatively. You know, I've talked about this in the past. My favorite philosopher is Alan Watts, and he talks about the meaning of life is to play. Like this is the meaning of existence. Existence is playful. This is why we are here. We suffer and we work and we toil and we shelter and feed ourselves so that we can play. Play is the celebration of consciousness, right? Like people think that games and hobbies are frivolous when I go, it's actually, that's why we're here. We're here to play. And whether that play is, I'm a mountain climber, I fish, I do needlepoint, I bake, I raise dogs, whatever that, I learned French, like whatever play means to you, that is our purpose. That is why we are here, is to celebrate our consciousness. And so I do all of this. I work and do all my stuff so that I can play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends. Like this is why I'm here, because otherwise, it's just a pit of despair.
Yeah, no, it's so true, and I love that quote that you just gave us from the philosopher.
I
Uh,
butchered it, but go on.
that's okay. We got the gist of it, right? Carlos, did you want to ask a question?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Todd? Okay,
Yes.
great. Well, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you at the Hollywood show. Me and Deborah were running around. Actually, Deborah was running around with my lightsaber, and then we ended up taking pictures together
Fun.
at the Hollywood show, if you remember that.
Fun.
So my question is, obviously, you mentioned some of the projects that you have upcoming, but I wanted to ask you on the death scene on Picard. Did you have a lot of outtakes in that one, or were there any funny outtakes, or was it, pretty serious the whole
Well,
scene?
no, you want to, that was. I think that might have been my last day on set. So it was filled with real emotion, right? Like I'm done. Like I don't get to play with my friends anymore. And so it was kind of meaningful. Um, and so that scene was on set was pretty loaded. The only time that there was an outtake, and some of you may have seen it, and it's not an outtake, it was just done for shits and grins, was when we were doing post, we were doing ADR, which is additional dialogue recording, where you have to, like, maybe there was a cup falling in the background, so you have to re-record the line, and you try to match what was going on. And there was a moment where, just for Terry, I made a joke and dropped in a piece of dialogue when I go, I think when it was on her, I recorded, I go, the con is yours, or the ship is yours. And then there's this pause, and I say 7 of 9, and I stuck in, don't touch my stuff. So it actually plays out where he goes, no, the ship is yours now. Don't touch my stuff. 7 of 9.
Oh yeah, because it was, like I said, it was a pleasure meeting you at the Hollywood
nice
show.
seeing you.
And Deborah's actually on here too. Both of us.
Hi, Deborah.
She's around here somewhere. But again, that was my question. And any other upcoming projects that you have besides the ones that you already mentioned?
I'm currently co-writing on Captain America Black Panther video game called Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra.
Okay. Marvel
With
1943.
Skydance. Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. You can see a trailer for that right now that's pretty darn great. I've been working on that for years, because it's a slow motion process when you make video games. I just worked on a movie last week that I can't talk about. And I have a bunch of conventions. I'm going out of town. I'm going to Europe for a month to do a bunch of conventions there. Then I have this Kickstarter coming up. And then some other, I have a like an audio book that, not audio book, an audio serial called True Noir that I'm doing, where I'm producing and playing the lead of. So just a lot. I have a lot of projects spinning, and somehow they all kind of fit together. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
For those of you that are on the East Coast, Todd is going to be appearing at a convention in the sort of Baltimore, Maryland area called Shore Leave, Kayak Shore Leave. Yeah. So, if you can get I think that's in July. So look it up online. I think it's shoreleavecon.com. If not, I'll put the actual link online, but go see him and go support him at that con. Ian, go ahead.
All right. Well, hey, Todd. Nice to finally
Hi.
meet you on there. Yeah. You want to talk about nerd dens? What do you think of mine here? Because
I'm trying to find you in the in the Brady Bunch gallery here. There you are. There you are.
Wearing the heavy metal T-shirt. I've got the.
I see you now. I see you now, and you got some arcade machines too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which ones you got, Bubba?
I got Tron, and I also
too.
I've got Tron and the Mortal Kombat machine, the Midway thing. That's actually my girlfriend's because it has Gauntlet on it, and she loved playing Gauntlet. So
but she might take that away from you. I have Tempest, Tron, the Star Wars, Pac-Man, and Dragon's Lair.
Yes.
But there's so much fun. There's so much fun.
Yeah, and don't mind the parrot. He's yeah.
What if I did? What if I said I mind the parrot?
Sorry. Anyway, and I've got my DVD.
What's up with Ian's parrot? Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your parrot's name, Ian?
Quartz. He's a Quaker parrot or a monk parakeet. Yeah.
Nice.
He's nice.
So what's your question?
Well, you kind of already answered it. Because
there you go.
Yeah. Well, you already talked about progcore, and that was the thing because one of the things I like as just aside from being a nerd, I'm also a big lover of hard rock and heavy metal music, and progressive rock kind of overlaps with that. So I thought progcore was a genre because I follow you on Facebook. I already read that you're a big fan of Styx. You've gone and seen them in concert. And I thought progcore was like kind of some genre of music that I
mean, it is. It is. I mean, it's been used in other ways. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What was the rest of your question?
No. It's just that because I came through fantasy the same way you did. Like
Yeah.
my gateways were like Hobbit, Return of the King, The Rankin
Yep.
Bass, all the stuff that Top Craft Animation did,
Yep.
as well as
Frodo of the Nine Fingers.
and the Ring of
And
Doom.
the
Yeah,
Ring
the
of
Glenn
Doom.
Yarborough
I
thing. Yeah.
I I I I wanted a word kind of the way people say steampunk or cyberpunk,
Mm-hmm.
but prog punk sort of ran into itself, right?
Yeah.
And so progcore felt like it, because when you say cyberpunk, you go, I kind of know what the music sounds like. I kind of know what the characters are like. I know what the vibe is, whether it's animation or whether it's Blade Runner or whether it's Tangerine Dreams music, right? Like it's a vibe. And so I wanted a word that represented a vibe because I don't think anybody had put a bracket around that vibe as far as I knew, because I couldn't find one that encompassed what it felt like to be listening to Styx when you were watching Rankin and Bass Hobbit and then Legend, and there's a vibe, there's a through line. You take it off. Great chatting with you, Ian.
No.
Great.
The only way I could get Quartz to shut up is if I let him out. So he's going to
He
be
wants
flying
to be
all
out.
around the
He
room.
wants to be out.
Yeah.
But it's a vibe, and so I wanted something to encompass that vibe, and then also that vibe was this excitement of newness. Like it was discovery. It was wonder, mystery, and danger. And so Progcore summed it all up for me. And so I said, why not? Let's use it to mean that. And people have used it to mean other things. Uh, musically, I just expanded it to mean dark fantasy
Yeah,
as well.
it's that same vibe I get when I, watching the same movies you're watching and I'm listening to Dio or Maiden or Metallica or something like or Hawkwind or something like that,
Yeah, and for me, if you listen to like Tull and those guys, hi Nathan, I just noticed you're here. Um, Nathan's a local boy. Uh, uh, I There was something about a lot of those bands, like Griffon and whatnot. They were taking medieval sounds but pushing them through synthesizers, and so it's taking the old and putting it in a new way. So it's like new wine in old bottles, and that's what we're doing with this whole project: is taking these influences that we love, these classic fantasy influences, but using new tools to express them.
Yeah. Well, while I got you here, I didn't know if if you like this kind of thing, but I did want to make a recommendation. These guys are friends of mine. They're from Allentown, PA. They're called My Maze. They are like a prog metal band. I've seen
Oh,
them live.
perfect.
Good friends with them.
Yeah, I'm not familiar much with prog metal. I'm more familiar with more like the more like I said, like Tull and Styx and Yes
Yeah.
and Rush and those bands. But I will give them a listen.
Yeah, they have their influences there, I think, too. I think you'll like
Perfect.
the lead singer is
Perfect.
she's fantastic. So yeah, and great
Terrific.
guitar work. So yeah. All right,
I
Todd. Well,
appreciate
I
that.
will be at Shore Leaf. My girl and I will be there and really looking forward to seeing you.
Terrific.
We can hang. I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Cheers.
All right, man. Cheers.
Thank you, Ian. Just so everybody knows, we're running a little longer than normal, so let's try to keep our questions as brief as possible so we can respect Todd's time here, and we'll try to get as many people in as we can because I don't want to keep them too long. Let's go to Jonathan.
Hi, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
So far, so good.
Cheers. Quick question. So, Captain Shaw's character was incredibly compelling in that balance between comedy and trauma. And I'm wondering where you found, how you were able to find that perfect balance, and did you draw upon any of your own experiences or training in particular that helped you to find that sweet spot right in between?
Well, first off, it was in incredible scripts. They wrote like I didn't write that, so I mean, it was all on the page. I just had to sing the song, as I said. With the major moment of expressing that trauma, obviously, was the Wolf 359 speech, and for when you have deep trauma and you're quote unquote triggered by it, you're going through it again, right?
Yeah.
It's as fresh. It's like grief. Like it's as fresh as it was when it was happening. Um, so my task was to try and recreate the events in my head from my point of view. Like, what was he seeing?
Mhm.
Who were his friends that were dying? Who did he like? What was that experience? So that when he's talking about, there's 50 of us and there was only 10 room for 10. Like, I had to have faces of all the people that were. I had to see who the commanding officer when she came down and started picking us to go on the thing. So I had to relive, like I had to create an entire other movie in my head to experience the fear and pain that he experienced then, so that I could image it,
Yeah.
so that when he was experiencing when the trauma got triggered, it was happening to him right then. You know what I
Very
mean?
compelling. Absolutely. Really
Thank
compelling
you.
performance. Thank you so much. I hope we see Captain Shaw again.
You're very well, you and me both. Thank you.
Okay, cheers. Be well.
Cheers, buddy. Great jacket.
Okay, Don. Can you hear me, Don?
Yeah, sorry, I was a little
Okay.
slow on the mute. I don't, yeah, so hi. So hopefully my question is very simple, but you're so involved in so many different things. It's like you really don't have downtime. So what do you like to do on your downtime?
I do have downtime, believe it or not. I am no more busy than anybody. Truly, truly. Everybody's busy. It, you know, it's not, my life is maybe unique in the things that I'm doing, but in
Right.
terms of time, it's no busier than most people. Meaning, I get up in the morning and I clean the cat box and I feed my dog and I make breakfast for my daughter, and we get her packed up and I drive her to the bus, and then maybe I go to the gym. Like, uh, and then I'll have a meeting that starts for the video game at 9:30 in the morning. So it's like I'm no busy. Like, you could probably list a same list of things in the morning that you do, right?
Right.
Like, when you wake up, you have your checklist that you do. It's just the things that I do are just maybe just different experiences, like the travel and the stuff. It's like I don't have the same job other than the video game that I sort of check in with every day. Except
Right.
when I was on set, that was an everyday job. Now, that's not your question. None of that was your question. Your question was, what do I do in downtime?
Yeah.
I love, well, Dungeons and Dragons is my downtime in many ways. I love hanging out with my kids and ordering Mexican food, and we like. We're so stupid. I'm going to show you something. Okay, is it here or is
There's
it
no such thing as
inside?
being stupid. No, no.
Oh, okay. Just to give you an example of the silliness that we do. So what we'll do, we'll go on eBay and we will find these themed board games.
Ah,
And then what we'll do is we dressed up like 70s truckers, and we cooked like, well, we were vegetarian, but we cooked like veggie burgers and drank shitty beer and played 10-4 Good Buddy, and then we watched Every Which Way But Loose. So, like, that's fun things to do in our downtime. I have a game called Fireball Island, and we will put on Hawaiian shirts and make tiki drinks and play Fireball Island. I have a 16-year-old, so she's not drinking the tiki drinks, and I have a 26-year-old and my wife, of 27 years. So, like, those are like things I love to do in my downtime. I love to ride my bike every day. I love to I love to. We go to the beach. We like to surf. I love to travel, but so much of my life is travel, so it's always combined. So it's like I got to go to Hobbiton. I got a Lord of the Rings tattoo while I was there. I got to go to Hobbiton, and I got to tour New Zealand, but then I also had conventions while I was there. So there was a lot of downtime, and it was incredible. So yeah, I collect stuff as you see. Like I'm a collector of things. I like toys, and I will deep dive on Bigfoot videos. Like I love I believe, man. I believe.
Don't we all?
And then by the way, like running this charity game is downtime.
Right.
Like that's not a job. They're not paying me to do that. It's something I choose to do. And this Prodcore fantasy project is my downtime. It's a passion project. Like we're going to try and fund it so that we can pay artists and musicians and animators to make it. You can actually see a little 1-minute animatic that we created if you go to my Instagram page. It's posted that my son, who's a professional animator, he led the charge on that. So yeah, I do a lot of. I'm a nerdy boy, so I like to do nerdy things. I go to movies. I go to a lot of live music too. We just got tickets to go see the Outlaws tour, which is Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, and John Mellencamp.
Nice. Thank you, and
Yeah.
love you.
Cheers. Who's next?
It's so true that actors are people just like us, like they have lives just like us, but it's really refreshing to hear that we as nerdy fans share a lot in common with somebody like Todd, and some of the things like you talking about the board games, that fascinates me, because we're a big board game family also. So refreshing to hear that.
The reality, I always find the word refreshing funny, because I think there's a misnomer about actors where there is this like tiny little apple skin tier of like multimillionaire, the Brad Pitts and the Downey Juniors of the world, but that's not actors. Like most actors we're journeymen, right? Like I really don't know any actors that don't clean the cat box. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a gig. It's a gig. It's a really cool gig. It's a gig I've worked my whole life for. I have been afforded really amazing opportunities, and I've been able to see much of the world because of it, and that is not taken for granted. And at the same time, I have to replace a hot water heater once in a while.
Living the life and living the dream, right?
Well, yeah, but what I want to say is most 99.9% of the actors that I know personally, because I don't know Robert Downey Jr., I don't have llamas. Most of the actors I know are just people that have passions, that do hobbies, that have children. It's just that the headlines you see are the ones that are multi-millionaires. And so that's not the majority of us. The majority of us are, quote unquote, what you say when you say relatable. And I'm going to say, if I knew Robert Downey Jr., my guess is he'd be relatable, because we're all just people. We poop.
Right. Very true. Tia, we probably have about 2 or 3 more questions, and Tia, you'll be the first one.
Let's do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, there we go. Finally let me unmute. First of all, you brought up my nickname. I am legally blind, and it's also my DJ name on a radio station, and we will be promoting your event. It is
Thank you so much.
It is trekradio.net.
That's fun.
And we will be promoting it.
Thank you.
My question to you is, I noticed on your IMDb, you do a lot of animated as well as live action. Which do you prefer?
Well, I don't do a lot. I've done a few. So I would not call myself a voiceover artist in the same way that people like Tara Strong, Yuri Lowenthal, Julie Nathanson, Nolan North are voiceover artists. Great Delisle. I prefer being on set with people. I think a lot of voiceover acting is lonely. You don't get to actually do the scenes sometimes with other people. I like being on set. I like. Don't get me wrong. I've really enjoyed doing voiceover, and I would like to do more of it because you don't have to shower. I I would, but I prefer being on set, having things to touch and connect to the person in the room with you and play the character in a costume. I love the make believe of all of that. Prefer, like, if I had to pick one or the other, I would always do live performing. Yeah. That's a good question, and thank you for promoting.
No problem, honey.
Awesome. All right, Mercedes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mark. Hi,
Hi,
Todd.
Mercedes.
Mercedes from Arizona.
Nice.
I am very interested in your friendship with your neighbor, Walter.
Okay, what would you like to know?
What was your reaction when you found out he was your neighbor? And how has that friendship enriched your life? And how awesome was it to be on the cruise together?
So Walter is yes, Walter is my neighbor. It was cool to find out that, that he's just like us. He he literally lives around the corner from me. And so saw him walking one day. I'm like, that's Walter Koenig. Now there's a little bit of shadow on this. I was friends with his son Andrew in Chicago, and Andrew was an improviser in Chicago. And I used to, when I was in my 20s, we would improvise together. We were in Improv Olympic and studied with Del Close, and this was after he had done Growing Pains. Andrew took his life. And so there's some tragedy there. Now, when I met Walter, and I was wearing a Star Wars t-shirt, and he looks at me and he goes, "Hey," and so we immediately connected as we were just laughing, and this was before I had gotten Star Trek. I was just he's my neighbor, and so we then would go over to his house with his wife Judy. She's no longer with us, and we would have tea together and made lunch and hang out, and he would tell me really great stories from the original series. And he too is a toy collector, so he's got a whole room of amazing toys, and he's got this gorgeous collection of all of the different versions of Chekhov that he's been given through the years. And that's really fun. I have a plush Shaw here somewhere. I have to find it. Oh, where did it go? Did my wife put it back? I don't know where it is. Sorry, I'll have to find it later. But he's a hoot. And it was actually because of my friendship with him that he had that cameo in Picard season 3. Because I said to Terry, Walter's my neighbor. He goes, "Do you want to ask him if he'll be in Picard?" And then I go, "Of course." And so I go, "Hey, Walter, they want to know if you want to be in Picard." He goes, "They do know that I don't have hair." And I said, "I don't think it'll matter." I said, it'll be a voiceover thing. He goes, "Do you know if they'll want me to do it with the Russian or without the Russian?" I said, "Maybe you'll tape it both ways." So, and it was really fun to go on the cruise with him. We carpooled to the airport and stuff. Oh.
That's amazing. I'm so glad he's in your life. I'm so glad he's your neighbor and he brings
He's
you
great.
joy. I'm very
He's
happy.
great. I love Walter.
Thank you.
Walter's a fun personality to be around. I've met him
He's
a
a
couple
hoot.
times. So,
He's a hoot.
nothing like living next to him, though. All right, folks, I apologize. We have one question left. I know some of you have been very patient. If you don't get a chance to ask your question, please send it to me in a DM, and I will forward those to Todd. Maybe he'll take some time and answer that through an email for me. But Samantha Churchill, you'll be the last question of the day here.
Thank you very much for allowing me to ask my question. And I just wanted to say, Mr. Stashwick, I am a huge fan of all your body of work, and I loved your character in Picard, and I'm hoping Legacy is green lit. I have a feeling it will be. Just cross my fingers.
I have no. All I know is it's not getting greenlit this year. So
yeah, I knew that too.
They have a full slate. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
They do. They have a full slate, so they have to wait for the other shows to be done before they could do that one. My question for you is this charity that you're involved with, Pablove. I think I said it correctly.
P-A-B,
the Shutterbugs program. Yeah. Okay. That charity, if you wanted to get involved in it and volunteer with it, how would you go about doing that?
There's a website called pablove.org. P-A-B. Okay. So there was a boy named Pablo who was diagnosed with cancer, and his family created the organization to honor him, and he was a photographer. So hence the Shutterbug program was to honor Pablo. So Pablove is his name with the word love on it. So if you go to pablove.org, there probably is a section that says how to be involved, and they would be happy to have you figure out how you can volunteer, and thank you for at least entertaining the idea, because it would be this disease isn't going to fight itself, so it needs us, and it needs whatever strengths that we can bring to the fight, we bring to the fight. Yeah, because it's I have only had side seats to this event. I have not had front row seats because my children did not suffer from this, but I know people whose children have, and so it means a lot to me. So if you guys, again, if you have deep pockets and you want to join in the actual game itself, that's going to be a pretty special event. But it will be pricey. But like I said, maybe people could team up together and donate to get one person to the game. That closes. The actual auction closes tomorrow. There's only one more day to bid on that other seat. Then we will switch into show mode, and I've finished writing the adventure today. And that game will be at 5 p.m. Pacific next week, Saturday, on Mini Terrain Domain. But we'll have links for all of that for everybody to know and spread the word. And you'll have little art that you can send out with it too. And then watch the game and donate while you're watching. And then keep your eyes peeled for my Kickstarter down the road. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for answering my question and what you're doing with the D&D event. It is amazing, and it is something that is really needed. And I have been affected by cancer with friends and family and kids that I have taught in preschool. So thank you so much.
Keep up the fight. Thank you, Samantha.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for asking that question. That was actually the last sort of outro question that I was going to have, was how can people get involved? So thank you for talking about that, Todd. And the best way to get involved is to go to his event next Saturday and participate.
Just watch it. Yeah, watch it and donate.
Watch it, donate, and just have fun with it. And because it's all going to a good cause, and I know that the Star Trek family is very generous when it comes to the fundraisers that we do, please show up and support Todd and the other actors and show your love for children afflicted with cancer. So
thank you so
I
much.
wanna donate a double roll.
I love it. That'll be available to you. That'll be available to you. It'll be great. It's going to be a lot of fun. The adventure's going to be fun, and we've got great people and players. So it's very exciting. So I'm going to sign off, finish my LaCroix. Take care of yourselves. May you
Thank
always
you as
roll
well.
with advantage. Take
And
care,
thank
everybody.
you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Oh,
Great. There we go. So I apologize again that I couldn't get every question in. We sort of agreed to about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, and we went about a half an hour beyond that. So I'm so sorry I couldn't get everybody in, but hope you guys had fun. Hope you guys learned something and got a couple laughs out of it, and definitely.
And like he said, donate.
Yep, definitely go.
Please donate.
If you're free on Saturday, go watch it. Even just even if you don't understand Dungeons and Dragons, even if it's not something that you do, go support, and you can talk in the chat, and maybe throw a couple small donations out there. So thank you all so much. Mona, go ahead.
Yeah, I never did find out where we would go to watch it on Saturday. I asked it, but I never did get the answer.
That is a good question, and I will make sure that all of those links are on the Facebook page for you. It is on Twitch, and Todd is going to provide all of the specifics for me. So he's going to get the link to watch and the link to donate, which you can also do. I think during the actual event, he'll have either a URL or a QR code that you can use to donate. But I'll make sure all of that's up online.
Okay, thanks.
If you do talk to him, see if he can do a voice promo for it, and I can get it played on air.
Okay.
For Trek Radio.
I'll call him as soon as we get off of this, because I wanted to thank him personally, and just see if he's willing to answer some of these questions. I know there was a bunch of people that didn't get to ask, so if you guys want to forward those questions to me, we'll see if we can maybe get that answered in an email or something.
Yeah, because I know the station owner is really good about that.
Yeah, Mark, we'll post it up on the Fleet Facebook page also when we get that.
Yes, definitely. All right. Everybody have a good time? Everybody enjoy that?
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
So much.
I was
I just have
one
one
nervous.
I just have one word. I just have one word.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God. I was trying to be cool. No, I'm just looking
I
at him
agree.
like
Very
yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was agreeing. Yeah, sure. And my mind was like, oh my God, that is Todd.
I just love that he's just not like he was saying some actors or most actors are, but like he's just like us. He's just a fellow nerd, and he's a Trek fan at that. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
That's what I love about him. It's like, yeah, he's a Trekkie just like us.
I did not know he was a vegetarian.
Yes, he's very down to earth.
Yeah. Mona, did you have a question?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add that the only thing I would have asked is how he voiced such a deep, I know he's a good actor, but to be able to come across with such a convincing portrayal of the survivor's guilt.
Right.
Because I also have survivor's guilt. And anyone who has, it's like anything else. When you have something like that, and when you have experienced it, you recognize it in others. So I recognized it. Yeah.
I'm glad that he portrayed that aspect of his character in such a profound way that it did speak to folks like yourself who experienced that, and
Yes.
it's wonderful that he was able to convey that through his acting ability, because it speaks, like everybody when they watch any show or movie, they have characters that speak to them, and they have characters that don't speak to them, and I'm glad that somebody was able to portray that, because survivor's guilt is, it's a very deep thing, and it affects a lot of people, and so I'm glad that that was able to come across to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. I am so thankful for all of you coming out.
Yes,
I'm
thank
so
you.
very thankful for all of you being members of the Star Trek family. Live Zoom Q&As like this are things that we do to give back to you guys for being such wonderful friends and Trekkies and part of our community. So thank you so much. I would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity with everybody that's on right now to plug some of the other video things that we do. For those of you that like getting online and watching episodes with fellow Trekkies, every Tuesday night and Saturday afternoon, we do episode watches and discussions. The Tuesday night session is Strange New Worlds. We're watching all Strange New Worlds. And the Saturday, we're doing sort of random episodes from all over the series. So come out and join us for those. Also, if you're one of those people that likes to watch Star Trek Discovery, which is out right now, right when it drops, Sunday morning, we have the Coffee First in the Morning show where we get together and we talk about the latest episode, and we talk about spoilery stuff. So please, if you watch the episode pretty quickly, come join us on Sunday morning and have a good conversation with us about Star Trek. And keep an eye out for some other great events that we're planning right now. We've got some more that we're getting ready to break some news about. So thank you all so much for coming. We appreciate it. Live long and prosper. And
long life.
See you.
Thank you.
Please come and watch with us and participate on Sundays, because I, for one, love it. Our crowds are very small. We got 24 people in here right now. So you guys come and watch with us. It's fun.
I would if it didn't happen at the same time of church.
Yeah.
Mark, I want to say something on behalf of some
I will
people
be
that.
coming to the Tuesday one.
Sorry. Go ahead, Tia.
Okay, I want on behalf of some people that are disabled that because of disabilities cannot go to conventions. Thank you for getting some of the stars on here. Because I know I, in my wildest dreams, would love to go talk to Todd, and I can't, but here I can ask a question, like I said, which do you prefer, animated or live action?
Right.
And I don't have to break the bank.
I'm glad that we can have this venue. I love Zoom, first of all. So you'll see a lot of Zoom stuff that I do for the family, but I'm glad that we have that venue where, as you said, folks who may be disabled or may not be able to have access to a convention, either financially or in any other way, be able to have this court to be able to ask questions of the actors. And I know that we also have a lot of members in Europe who they just don't get conventions like we do here in the US. So, it's nice to be able to have that access. And so I'm so grateful that you were able to participate today.
Yeah, it's even nicer being able to share it and give back to you guys. You guys gave me and Mark, especially me, in such a hard time so much. You will never ever know how much. And I just want to say thank you.
Probably all that sugar from the ice
from the
cream.
bottom of my heart. And
got
look,
some smaller things.
we are family.
We are family. And on that note, folks, have a wonderful evening, and we will see you on the next Zoom.
Live long and prosper.
Okay.
It's called
Live long
A
and
Taste.
prosper, my friends.
And it's
Bye.
like
Have a nice
$3.
Sunday.
You as well.
You too.